Hey, D-Team, I'm here with the man who needs no introduction, David Vaughan, illustrious and very nicely dressed
Thank
today.
you. I got the Whitewater logo. I got the swag on, and it's comfortable.
It's quite, I'm going to have to get...
On a cold day.
Where'd you get that?
I got it for Christmas.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm here with David Vaughan, and one thing that you may not know, I tell people sometimes Whitewater has a secret sauce, and so there's stuff that you see with Whitewater that makes... I mean, we're not perfect, but I think we're a pretty good church. And a lot of people go to like the music's good, or you got that nice building, or the communication's good, or whatever. You know, we got these things. But one thing I think a lot of people don't realize is that Whitewater has a secret sauce that really is like a leadership culture that has been built over a long period of time, where we just have fantastic leaders in our church. And you know, I think that you could pick up our building and put it in a different place, and you could get high quality communicators and high quality musicians and do a lot of good stuff, but it wouldn't have the effectiveness that we have had because if it also didn't have kind of the leadership culture that comes with it. And that's something that you, I think people see you as a communicator, visionary leader, pastoral, fundraiser. Like there's things people see when they see David Vaughan. Yeah. But I think people don't realize that this is a significant hat that you wear. And I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about this. So when you moved to this church, how long has it been now?
Yeah, 16 years.
16 years. So pretty early on, you started gathering with a few. Yeah. Can you tell me about that?
Well, I subscribe to Maxwell's the axiom that everything rises and falls on leadership. So what attracted me to the Whitewater Church was they had a strata of quality leaders. And that was attractive to me. So I knew when I showed up, all I had to do was kind of pour fuel into the leadership that already existed. But I very quickly discovered that to grow the church, I had to grow the leadership structure as well. So I began pretty quickly to identify what I would call male and female leaders who were rising in the organization. So I had to figure out a way to start meeting with them, identifying them, meeting with them, let them sense my heart, get an idea about what my vision for the church was, which was different than the vision of previous generations at the Westwood Cheviot Church, which is now Whitewater Crossing. So I identified those folks, started meeting regularly under the guise of leadership development, but really it was collaborating and communicating the heart of where we wanted the church to go. We needed to get deeper, but we needed to get broader. So I knew that the next run we would have, back then we were, 350, 400. So I, back then, was dreaming about what it would be like for us to be a couple thousand. So I knew that leadership structure had to be better, it had to be deeper. Our bench had to be better. So many of those leaders back then that were emerging leaders are now pivotal leaders now, strategic leaders now in eldership. Some of them came on staff. Some of them were really competent and continue to be competent and character-driven leaders now in the structure of the church as lay leaders. So I see fruit from that way back then that we did that we're just now realizing now. And so I applaud the work that you and others are doing now to prepare us for what's next then. So that was my thinking. So skill was important, but I think the heart, my heart and their heart being aligned was important. And you only get that by spending time weekly with people.
So that's not something that you can just vision cast, hey, come to this 1 hour meeting once a month, or
it's
once
a
quarter, or
pot.
once a year. It's
not a crack pot, not a crack pot, but it's definitely not microwave. I think it's for the long haul, and I think we're realizing how critical the selection of leaders were. I was just trying to identify those who had the leadership gene. It just there are different gifts that God gives the church. I think there are those who are gifted at leading and multiplying disciples. Yeah, and we needed that.
Yeah. Well, most of the people that are watching are probably not going to be a senior minister, at least of this church, right? Maybe. Well, who knows, right? I'm not trying to put God in a box there. But what these people are people that are leading in a variety of areas around Whitewater, right? But this idea is still critical, I think. What you said, hey, it's going to take some sort of regular investment of time and energy and communication and stuff like that in a few, because you can't do that for 1,000 people at a time.
That's right.
So can you tell me a little bit, like, just structurally, just so we can kind of get to know it, like what were the vehicles that you used? You had like a Thursday morning thing that you've done quite a bit?
Yeah. I've done Thursday morning for a long time, and at one point was doing two, a Thursday morning, Thursday night, 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. So
right.
Yeah, that was a long day.
That's a long day right there.
So you want to catch people before work or after work, so people could go, if they missed the 7 a.m., they could come to 7 p.m. or vice versa. Ironically, the largest attendance was at the 7 a.m. Started on time, ended on time. But we went through a lot of leadership principles over my life. I would just make lessons. I would steal material from Maxwell or anybody that I thought had a good lesson. I'd Vaughanize it,
That's right.
And then acculturize it to the Whitewater Crossing situation. So we would teach that leadership lesson. But the real benefit came from discussing that. It was the meeting after the meeting,
right,
or the meeting in between the meeting. People would email, say let's get together, let's talk about that. So it is kind of unwieldy to try to do 2 a.m. p.m. So I just kind of went back to a.m. and I found 10 to 12 is a good number. 15 gets a little unwieldy. 3 or 4, if somebody's sick or missing or on vacation, you're kind of down. So that number has worked well for us. I think there's some reason Jesus, picked 12, and of course one of them left. So, I expect some fallout somewhere along the line from our groups too.
That's always the case. All right. Well, anything else that you want to say to the D team while you got it?
Yeah, thank you for what you're doing. You are modeling. This is really our breathing example of 2 Timothy 2:2, investing in faithful men who will then invest in faithful men. So leadership development, discipleship in that term is so critically important. So I found most churches don't emphasize it enough. I'm glad that you are and we are. And so let me encourage you that you're sowing seeds now that you will never understand till later how critical it is. You'll reap fruit from that down the road. The church, Jesus will reap fruit from that in Whitewater. We'll be stronger. And you're planting trees under whose shade you'll never sit under. But someday somebody will. So I kind of look at our current season of Whitewater very similar. We've got some changes coming down the pike that are really going to be hugely important, that we have a strata of leaders. I knew that 16 years ago, and we're kind of in a similar thing now. So to seize the opportunities that God has to enjoy the revival of fruit that God is sending us with people, we need you to keep doing what you're doing to the best of your ability with your heart, your passion, your head, all that comes together. So you're really reproducing Jesus through you. So I found out a long time ago that really leadership in ministry situation for a pastor is not so much the preparation and delivery of a sermon, it's the preparation and delivery of a man or a woman, and you're delivering them. Wow. And that's what our leadership structure, whether it's huddle or stride or whatever we're doing these days, that really is, it's the multiplication of a heart through a person, and that's you. And thank you for doing that.
All right. Every time I close a meeting with you, you always tell me the same thing, and I figure this is their chance to hear it directly from the man. It is.
Which one? Don't mess up.
Don't mess up.
Sometimes I tell Mike, be bright, be brief, be gone.
That's true.
So I wasn't sure which one. But yeah, don't mess up. I would encourage you, because leadership is all about character, and you just have to turn on the news, secular or sacred, to find out when your character goes, it's not a good thing. So stay humble, stay hungry, don't mess up.
Don't mess up. Thanks, guys.